What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. Today we're going to talk about the Netflix series When They See Us.
Please, stop right there.
Don't resist. Do not resist.
If you haven't seen it, it's a Netflix series based on a true story about 5 kids who were accused of raping a woman in Central Park. These kids were between the ages of 14 and 16, and these kids never even knew each other before this even happened, except for Korey Wize and Yusuf. They were friends. So when they picked these kids up for questioning, man, they smacked them, they threatened them, they held them for 72 hours under interrogation with no attorney, no parents, no food. Man, I'm telling you, this shit was hard to watch. During this interrogation, they basically persuaded these kids to lie on each other.
Kevin did it?
To make false confessions and to basically admit that they took part in this rape. Like literally making these kids admit to something that they really didn't even do. I mean, if you listen to the confessions on it, I mean, it was just plain and clear that these kids didn't know nothing about rape, didn't know nothing about any rape, period.
I felt bad. This is my first extreme I did to any kind of female or this is my first rape.
So these kids go to trial, and they get railroaded. I thought the lawyers did a pretty good job, but unfortunately, they get convicted for this rape, man. And I'm telling you, the court scenes were pretty emotional, especially when Korey Wize was on the stand. I mean, this kid literally didn't have nothing to do with any of this shit, and he was up there really trying his hardest to basically help and tell what they wanted him to say.
They said if I was there, and if I went along with it, that I could go home. And that's all I wanted.
And man, he didn't understand what was going on. And when they got convicted, he literally jumped out of his seat and was like running at the DA because he was like, "You promised me, you said I would go home." You know what I mean? It was fucked up. The whole scene and everything, real emotional. I'm telling you, what happened to Korey Wize was fucked up. And I forgot to mention, man, Korey Wize, he was actually not on the list to be interrogated. He was actually walking with his friend that was actually on the list. And when the cops picked his friend up, Korey basically volunteers to go down to the police station because they were taking his friend. So the whole thing is fucked up. They're all innocent, but man, what Korey went through was ridiculous.
I just came to look after Yusuf.
Man, that choice he made to go with his friend fucked his whole life up forever. And the torture he endured for the next 14 years was heartbreaking. This kid went to prison with a rape charge, and in prison, that ain't the business. So you had every single inmate in there, even the cops, they were all gunning for him. I mean, this poor kid ended up getting stabbed, beat up, and doing most of his time in solitary confinement. Man, the shit is heartbreaking to watch, I'm telling you. It's heartbreaking.
What am I supposed to do? Just let them do whatever they want to do? Just whatever?
What am I supposed to say?
The solitary confinement scenes in this series were on point. The things Korey experienced in his solitary confinement were very familiar and very similar to my own experiences with doing time in prison. So I spent some time in the hole in prison, but one memory that really sticks out for me that really coincides with what Korey was going through was the time that I was locked up in the youth authority, and I was locked up at Preston Youth Correctional Facility. Man, they put my ass in solitary confinement in there one time, and I think I did about maybe like 4 months in there. And so it's nothing to what Korey went through for like 17 years or so, 16 years or so, right? But I did about 3-4 months back there in solitary confinement. I remember like at 10 o'clock every night, the cops would come to my cell door. They'd throw in a mattress, a little beat up, dirty ass mattress, and one sheet. And that's what I get to sleep on through the night. And then around 4:30 in the morning, they come right back, snatch that bedding up, take that shit away from you, and you're left in your boxers all day in that motherfucking cell, just fucking stuck, sitting on concrete slab. And I remember the same thing like Korey, man. I remember I was up in there talking to myself and shit, having conversations with people that weren't there. You know, it was fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Even looking out the window, that the part of him looking out the window, man, that really got me, because I remember looking out the window and I saw this bird fly by, and I was like daydreaming that I was this bird, that I could just fly up out of here and just go back home to my family. Man, I know what that shit's like, man. Something like that can really beat you down. I was 17 at the time I went through that, and him going through that at a young age, man, I'm telling you, something like that really can fuck you up, man. So what he went through back there was so realistic. The way Netflix got it down, the way the writer got it down. The actors, man, they did a great fucking job. They really draw you into the story of these young boys. And, you know, what happened to these kids, man, was very unfortunate. But shit like this happens all the time to people. Like, you know, so I'm very happy that these kids finally made it out. You know, they're not kids no more. They're grown-ass adults. But they made it out of the prison. They're back with their families. They're back home. No child, no person, period, should ever have to go through something like that, especially if they were innocent and they didn't commit this crime. But the silver lining is the truth is coming out about these kids and what they went through. And now people are being enlightened on how the system is it's really fucked up. It's broken. And, you know, not everyone that goes to prison is guilty. But I really enjoyed this flick. It was really good. If you haven't seen it, it's only 4 episodes, so it's really quick. But I'm telling you, the impact it leaves on you, man, it's just fucking, it's way out. So go watch that shit and maybe come back here and let us know in the comments what you thought, what was your take from it. And till next time, stay the fuck out of trouble.